Now, the rest of the story. Martha Young was only a little girl, but what happened to her and her family would be burned into her mind's eye and ear forever after. They were called Jayhawkers, abolitionist guerrilla raiders in Kansas and Missouri during the American Uncivil War. One group was Jim Lane's Kansas Redlegs, a notorious bunch that showed up one blistering morning in 1861 on the Young's Missouri farm. 9-year-old Martha Ellen Young saw it all. The slender, dark-haired child watched as Lane's Redlegs shot 400 of her daddy's Hampshire hogs, and she saw them cut off the hams and load them on wagons. She was there when the marauders shot the chickens out of sheer meanness and set fire to all of the barns out of sheer meanness. The smoke was so dense that it blackened the sun. When the Jayhawkers had slaughtered the cattle, they ransacked the Youngs' home, destroyed a lovingly made quilt, and stole anything of value, the silver, the feather beds. Little Martha particularly remembered those feather beds. So cherished were they, so many months in the making. The Young family had barely begun to rebuild their lives when the infamous Order Number 11 was issued, and its author was Union General Thomas Ewing, and its purpose was the removal of all secessionists from the county. So once again the Jayhawkers arrived at the Youngs' farm, this time to evict them. They were told they were to relocate in Platte County. They were permitted only one cartload of family possessions to take with them. They were ordered to leave immediately, and little Martha Ellen Young, now age 10, was there, and she watched in horror as the Jayhawkers threatened to hang an objecting brother. She would remember always their journey into exile, trudging northward through the arid, powdery prairie behind the swaying oxen and the creaking cart. For 3 years, the Young family would remain in exile, and each day built up the bitterness in that little girl's heart. Those memories, indelible, continue to haunt her through a lifetime of almost 100 years. Martha Ellen Young lived as though it had all occurred just the day before. This was the making of an unequivocal Yankee hater. When her own son strode into her farmhouse in 1917, wearing his National Guard blues, her eyes caught fire. She said, "I don't want that uniform in this house." And her son left. Even in her 90s, Martha Young spoke of Northerners as though they were still trying to hang her brother, and of Republicans as though at that very moment somewhere in Kansas they were all collectively dining off her mother's silver. Her own granddaughter remembers hearing that story over and over again. Martha's son tried to reason with her that there were some good Yankees, but Martha always insisted that she was yet to see one. Why, Martha Young once was even offered the opportunity to sleep in the White House, in Abraham Lincoln's bedroom. In Abraham Lincoln's bed, Martha replied grimly that she would rather sleep on the floor. But she did visit, and all of the pictures of Lincoln during her visit were removed from the walls of the White House. And her son, President Harry Truman, arranged for her to sleep instead in the Rose Room. And now you know the rest of the story.